remember the exact sound my father made when I said no. Not anger, not disappointment, a sneer. Slow, practiced. "You've always been a disappointment," he said, folding his arms like a verdict. "Your only value to this family is your womb." The room went silent. My mother stared at the carpet. My sister, golden, fragile, desperate, didn't look at me at all. She just held her flat stomach like a claim she couldn't fulfill on her own. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I nodded. That's the part they never understood about me. I don't explode. I collect. Growing up, I learned early where I stood. I was the spare, the reliable one, the one you leaned on, then stepped over. My sister was the miracle child, the investment. Every excuse made sense when it was for her. When she married rich and still couldn't conceive, the family narrative adjusted smoothly. God had a plan. Science had answers. And I had a uterus. They didn't ask me because they respected me. They asked because they assumed ownership. I was 32, single by choice, financially independent, emotionally careful. I'd built a quiet life away from them, brick by brick, because distance was the only way to breathe. But blood has a way of knocking. They invited me to dinner. Candles, soft voices, polite smiles. My sister cried on cue. My mother held my hand too tightly. My father laid out the proposal like a business deal dressed as love. I listened. Then I said no. That's when the mask slipped. That's when he reduced me to biology. That's when I saw it clearly. I was never family. I was inventory. I drove home numb, not broken. My phone buzzed once at a red light, then again and again. My lawyer. I hadn't spoken to him in months. There was no reason to. Until that night. "You need to come in tomorrow," he said. His voice was careful, measured. "Something surfaced about your grandparents' estate." I pulled over. My grandparents were the only people who ever saw me, who taught me that silence could be power, who told me to read contracts twice and people 3 times. They were also very wealthy and very precise. The next morning, I sat across from my lawyer as he slid a folder toward me. Inside were documents I had never seen, amendments, trust clauses, conditions. My grandparents had anticipated everything, including this, a hidden provision activated if any descendant attempted to coerce another into reproductive servitude for financial or familial gain. It was airtight, brutal, elegant. Anyone involved would be immediately disqualified from inheritance, assets frozen, shares transferred. To me, the overlooked one, the disappointment. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I planned. I didn't confront them right away. That would have been sloppy, emotional, wasteful. Instead, I waited. I let my parents escalate. Guilt messages, religious pressure, subtle threats dressed as concern. My sister sent long voicemails about sacrifice and destiny. I saved everything. Dates, times, words. Then I forwarded it all to my lawyer. When the final notice was served, it didn't come from me. It came from the trust. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. Accounts locked, properties flagged, their future suspended mid-breath. And then my phone rang. They came to my house that evening, all of them. My father, suddenly pale, my mother crying openly, my sister shaking like glass about to shatter. No invitation, no warning. I opened the door slowly, calm, controlled. They didn't yell this time. They knelt. My father, who never apologized for anything, reached for my hands and missed. His knees hit the floor hard enough to hear. "We didn't mean it," he said. "You misunderstood." I waited. My sister sobbed. "Please, I'll do anything, anything." The word echoed. I stepped back and finally spoke. "You were right," I said quietly. "You taught me my value." They looked up, hopeful. "And you taught me how to use it." I didn't gloat. I didn't threaten. I didn't negotiate. I explained the terms. They would receive a modest allowance, enough to survive, nothing more. No access to the principal, no control. Ever. And they would never ask me for anything again. Not my body, not my silence, not my forgiveness. My father tried to speak. I raised one finger. "Remember this," I said. "You reduced me to a function. I reduced you to consequences." I closed the door while they were still on their knees. Now, when I think back on that night, the sneer, the words, the certainty with which they dismissed my humanity, I feel something close to peace. Not because I won, but because I didn't break. They taught me I was disposable. I showed them I was decisive. I was never just a womb. I was the reckoning they never saw coming.